Hello and welcome back to Shock Talk. Today we're going to try to answer a mystery question for you. The tire that works best.
Not mystery questions, a mystery issue.
A mystery issue. The tire that works best, or the mystery about tire sidewall rating and matching it up with the proper shock absorber.
Not really matching it up. I would say just qualifying what's going to take place and understanding more than just the suspension that you're buying and more of the whole package.
Right, understanding that the tire sidewall is part of the suspension.
It's not really a mystery. This is a fact in our society.
Right, well, the mystery is most people don't know. So they get all this stuff installed on their vehicle at the same time. The vehicle rides like trash, and it's immediately related to the shock absorber, which the shock absorber has nothing to do with it.
Right.
And what is this mystery issue?
Exactly. So go through the tire sidewall ratings and how they relate to suspension.
Well, no, it's not even that.
It is that.
It is that.
Well, it is, but the thing is, like you said, when you buy a tire, you need to pay attention to the rating. It's not just...
But most folks don't even know what those letters mean on the side of the tires.
Most people don't even know what the numbers mean.
Yeah, so Junior's going to explain it.
So here's the deal. You walk yourself into a shop, whether it's 4-wheel parts, ORW, it doesn't matter. Wherever you are.
Does not matter which shop.
You can buy your tires anywhere.
And here's the problem. The guy at the counter might not even be educated enough
to
get you through this process. Okay?
Junior's going to educate you so that you can get yourself
I'm going to try because I might not even be educated enough. So here's the deal. Your vehicle comes, unless it's a 3/4 ton or a 1-ton vehicle, it does not come with a load-rated tire. It's a P metric tire. Whether you're buying an F-150, whether you're buying a Tundra, the only time you're going to get load rating really is into the 3/4 and 1-ton range. Actually, some of the Jeeps have a C load range when they're dealing with the all-terrain.
Or when you switch to
tires,
LT, right? From P metric to light truck.
Yeah, so ones with LTs, like for instance, the TRD Pro comes with an LT tire.
Right.
No,
are you sure?
It comes with a P metric.
It comes with a P metric.
It comes with a P metric Nitto Terra Grappler. You're
yes.
Right.
Do P metric tires have load rating?
I have a story. I'll have a story about that later.
The Rubicon comes with a...
It comes with an
LT tire. So
the Rubicon only, though.
There's certain models out there that will come with an LT tire. So what a P means is P metric, right? It's a passenger car load rating.
Oh, so it doesn't have different varieties.
Sorry.
P metric. It starts off with a P.
Right.
If it starts with a P,
there is no load rating.
Passenger
car load rating.
So you can go buy a Tacoma, and it comes with a P265 70 16.
Right.
Which is a passenger car load rating. Now, what that does, what people need to understand is your tire. We've talked about this in the past, but we're going to focus on it now. The tire is the first part of your suspension that makes contact with the ground. And this is why I don't understand why people will go out and spend $4,500 on a set of Volk TE37s, and they'll put some off-brand all-terrain tire on there. It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that wheel is only as true as that tire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So manufacturers typically do this because when you test drive that car, they want you to feel that squishiness and, ooh, look how smooth this is, right?
Yep.
Now, when you go and you say, hey, I want to get this car leveled out, I want to get some nice
They throw some
wheels on it.
E-rated tires.
I want to get some wheels on it. I want to get some 285s because that's what everyone on the forum's doing. What you don't understand is most tire companies now only build certain tires in E-load rate. Like 285s are E-load rated. 285, 75.
Most LTs that you'll find are E-low rated.
And here's the reason why. Because back in, let's say 25 years ago, when we were selling tires, when I was selling tires anyway, you had BFG made a 285 7017 in a C, D, and E. Right? They made a 285 75 16 and a D and an E. They made a 35 1250 and a D or a C. But what they come to what I think they did, and I can't be sure because I never worked there, but they're like, oh, we're building 3 tires when we could be building 1. The E load rate is going to stand because there's vehicles that require E-load rating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted you to touch on that. What is an E low rated typically designed for?
For a 3/4 or a 1-ton truck.
And what is the
With a
E-load
diesel
rating?
motor.
What does it stand for? This means that the sidewall can
It's a 10-ply sidewall.
It can
10
support
ply.
more load
It supports 80 psi of air pressure.
and more load, right? So
Yeah.
the more weight they put in the
Right,
back of the
right,
truck.
right.
Like if you look at these tires on the chart, it says load carrying or weight rating or something like that. The E-load rating is the highest, right?
So
Well, no, not
if
anymore.
You,
Not the
because-
highest, there's a
not
G
anymore.
tire,
There's
right?
like a G tire or
Yeah.
something like that. But
if you got your brand new LC 250 and you want to level it out,
you level it out.
you want to put a
285 on there.
you want to put a tire on that was designed for a Cummins diesel.
No.
Nope, but that's what everyone's doing, and they
Exactly.
don't understand it. And then on
Because
top
there's
of
no
it,
options though, right?
there's not.
Right.
There's not
if you
very
want
many.
that brand and it only comes in E, that's what you get.
Right.
Well, the thing is
but what LC 250 with a 4-cylinder turbo motor requires a
285.
10-ply tire? But
None.
It
but
doesn't.
see, at that point they're committed. They want the look so bad.
Right.
They're going to put an E-load rated
They'll
tire
sacrifice
on there.
Well,
that.
Yeah.
And then they're
You
going to
don't-
return their 5100s because they're too stiff.
you don't have to though, because you can go look at all the tire manufacturers and you will find C rated.
But,
Right.
but,
285s.
but they don't want to show up to Cars and Coffee with a Cooper
No,
AT3, or they don't want to show up
with a Falcon.
with a different tire other than the top brands, which the top brands have the market cornered, unfortunately, because they know BFG KO3s just came out. So there's guys out there taking 90% tread off just for the look of the KO3. So you know what I'm saying? But until these manufacturers step up,
Well, aside from the people that want to go to Cars and Coffee, you can do your research and you can
there's
seek out.
very few though. There's
I
literally
think Toyo
very
has a
few.
good selection
But-
in ratings.
They have a good selection in P metric,
But
but the
you
thing
can
is now
go-
you're building an off-road car. Do you want a P metric or do you want a C load
Yeah,
rating?
you have to be careful
or
with
a D?
sidewall, yeah.
Right.
If you have a LC 250 brand new and you want to level it out
Brand new.
brand new,
Run new,
you want a C rated tire.
right?
So it's
course,
up
yeah.
to you as a consumer to
go
find
find it.
which manufacturers offer a C rate
So
and buy one.
here's the biggest issue is I
The issue is people don't even know.
they don't know.
It's true.
They don't educate themselves.
True.
And here's how it affects us.
And sometimes
And
there's
this is
no
why
options.
we want
yeah.
to relay this message.
Yeah.
Someone gets a 6112 kit, a 5100. They get a wheel and tire package at the same time. And they call us and they say, I just installed your 5100s on my 5th gen 4Runner and it's undrivable. It's so stiff.
You got
Cool.
an E-rated tire with 80 pounds in it.
He has so here let's now that you're saying PSI, folks, no matter what size tire you put on your vehicle, it requires the same air pressure as what the door states.
This is
Yep.
a huge one right
yeah,
here.
yeah.
This one is
Just
huge.
because the tire's bigger, it
Just because
doesn't
the
need more
tire
air
is bigger,
pressure.
or it says 65 psi on the sidewall, follow your door pressure. So you can put a 35 on there.
well,
and
no,
if your
it's
door
worse.
pressure's
Yeah.
It's worse because of TPMS.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you get your car, your LC 250, we're picking on that.
Right.
And it comes with a P metric tire, street tire.
And
even
TPMS
though
sensors,
it's supposed to be this
they're
off
gonna
roader.
go off if it goes below 30.
Basically, they tell you, well, I don't know what it is. Let's just say on my Jeep, JL 37 psi.
Right.
So the car came with a C-rated 285 BFG. 37 psi is on the door.
Right.
So what happens when you
Go below.
don't know the difference between a C and an E?
Right.
You lift it, you put an E-rated tire on, and then you take that E-rated tire up to 37 psi.
Right. Right. Otherwise,
What is going to happen?
the sensors kick? Yeah, it's going to be stiff.
It's going to be stiff as hell.
It's going to be like riding around on a solid.
So
rubber
let's go
tire.
through-
So
Look,
now
let-
you get these controllers. Now you got to get like a Z thing or Z mini Z.
Not
thing.
even that. Not
just but just with the Jeep
just to get the
guys,
tire deflection.
Yeah.
because you need to run that tire at 30 psi. But guess what? Your light comes on all the
Right.
damn
Yeah.
time.
So what Shane is saying is that 35 psi in an E-load rated tire is completely different than 35 psi in a
C-
P metric tire.
or a C tire.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're starting to lose sidewall deflection. So again, tires are 50% of your suspension, and they're the first part of your suspension that touches the ground. following your door pressure is critical. So if your front says 29, your rear says 27, I don't care if you put a 40-inch tire on the car. The only difference is it's going to take longer to get to
It's
that
volume,
27 PSI than it did in the stock tire.
Yeah, it's volume.
So that's critical. If you need to run lower pressure to get some of that tire deflection back, you're going to have to run some sort of programmer so that your TPMS doesn't activate.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is how does and this might be a good question for someone who's really seriously going to off-road the car. Let's say you didn't have a choice. You wanted this specific brand, only came in E-rated, and now you're going off-road and you want to air that down. How does that E-rated sidewall work?
It's great. E-load rate's great for airing down.
It does.
But
you can air down more.
You have to air down more.
Right.
Instead of 18, you'd want to be at 13.
But it does the extra layers.
It just takes more to get the bulge out of that tire.
Right.
I mean, it works nice off road because you can air it down more.
But it's terrible.
But it doesn't. You don't get as much bulge out of it.
Right. And it doesn't deflect over the obstacle just as a C tire would, right? Isn't it kind of...
Well, when you air it down more, it will.
If your average is 18 PSI, you air down to 13.
And it won't damage that stiff sidewall to run it?
No, it's better to run a stiff sidewall over obstacles like that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. The whole reason for this topic is to educate people and consumers, and just even if you're not a consumer of ours, to educate yourself on how tires can translate to a poor ride.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Air pressure too.
Air pressure, sidewall firmness, brand of tire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you think if you're going to put a mud tire on your car and think it's going to ride like it did with the P-metric that it left a lot with, you're out of touch with the reality.
Right. Also, the noise as well, right?
Even all-terrains. All-terrains don't track nearly as well as a P-metric tire.
Right.
They're getting better. They're getting far better than they used to be, but they don't track all that great compared to a P-metric tire.
Yep.
They definitely don't have the deflection. So everyone, not everyone, but we get calls once in a while and says, I'm driving my Tundra after I put these 5100s on it and some big, nice 33-inch tall tires and taking it off-road, and it's stiff. My wife's minivan rides better through here. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
A P-metric tire on a minivan, on something that's not cab on chassis, is going to ride better through washboard and low velocity.
Oh, yeah.
100%. You are absolutely right. Now go out to your E-load range tire, drop it down to 18 PSI, and go through that same wash.
Yeah.
I've told you this many times that air pressure makes it feel like it's a long travel kit.
Here's a question I wanted to ask Shane right on that topic. So when we test these vehicles, we're testing on the P-metric tire. We're setting the shock settings for the P-metric tire?
No.
Okay.
When we're lifting a vehicle, we're testing with different wheels and tires.
Okay, so the shock is actually, the valving is there if you get the right
Correct,
tire.
absolutely.
If you're doing like a 5100, we have to have the popular.
But they're set up for the popular most.
Right.
Yeah.
So the shock valving is going to cover it if the tire is in the right load range and has the right air pressure in it. It's not really the shock's fault that the ride is bad, ever, really.
Well, it's set up for, like when we do the LC250, I'm sure we're going to test with a 285/70/17, which is what most people are going to do.
Oh, so we're targeting the most common tire.
Right. Now, if you get a guy, we test for a tire that needs minimal modifications to clear.
Right. The biggest tire that needs minimal
We are not cutting up anyone's vehicles to try to fit 35s on these things like the consumers are doing. So they're not valved to control that unsprung weight.
Right.
So
We
guys
set the
that are
valving
already
in the
putting
middle.
35s and 37s on these LC250s, good luck.
They're outside the tuning, just in the unspun weight.
They're outside of the tuning, but on an e-shock, I don't think anyone tunes for 35s and 37s on these production
So it's
vehicles.
just logical that we tune on the most commonly used tires.
most common
and
tire.
the best tires that
the
are
most
out there
common
for-
offset
Yep.
that we think.
Yep.
And then usually we'll fit
Just
check.
checking to make sure that we didn't test on the P-metric setting and then send it down the road.
If it's a 5100 or above, we make sure we got the right tires.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
I had somebody ask me about tires the other day on stock F-150, and they said that they were going to get some beefier tires. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Are you mean you're going to get an LT? I was like, you need to make sure you get a P metric if you're going to do an all-terrain, because there are P metric all-terrains,
Right.
100%.
right?
Toyo's the fanciest for that.
Yeah.
Toyo AT3s,
Yep.
they have a lot of P metric
Yep, they
series in the
do.
OE
I actually
cycles.
have those on my truck right now.
And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, if you're going to do tires and you're going to do something beefy, it's a stock F-150 two-wheel drive.
Right.
You need to make sure you get the P metric.
Right.
Make sure you don't do the LTs, because the LTs are going to ride really bad.
Right. With an E rating.
And I'm like, if you just want it to ride the best, just get the regular
Right.
tires that were on it.
The tire that came with it.
Don't even mess around
And
with
then,
like a
or then
different.
understand, like if that's not your direction and you're after this aesthetic that requires a 10-ply tire to achieve this aesthetic that you guys want in your driveway, then absorb the fact that you're not going to get the best quality ride out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather
And you're
than
gonna
try
have
to,
adjust your air pressure and fix your sensors.
or rather than try, but even though a 10-ply tire, even if you don't want to drive it at 18 PSI all the time,
No gas mileage at that point.
well, you just don't.
Right.
Like you want to be at a reasonable PSI for the street. You don't
Right.
want to try to get all your comfort out of reducing air pressure, because
Right.
that's not safe either.
Yeah,
because
it's going to heat up those tires and
not necessarily eat up the tires, but you're going to get a lot of body roll. You're going to get a lot, even if it's a 10-ply sidewall, you're going to get body roll if you're underinflated, you know? So you don't want to compromise that. But what you need to do is qualify your need. And if your need is absolutely a 10-ply tire, because that's what you like aesthetically, then don't try to say, then just take it for what it is.
That's going to ride stiffer.
yeah.
It's going to be firm. It's going to be stiff. It's going to be everything. And not only are you altering suspension geometry by raising it, now you're adding a tire on it that contributes to the firmness.
That was made for a 3/4 ton diesel towing rig.
Right. Don't email us saying that your vehicle feels way stiffer than it should be because you have a 10-ply tire on your Tacoma. Like
Right.
it just doesn't require a 10-ply tire. You can keep your suspension stock,
And have the same effect.
put a 10-ply tire on there, and it's going to ride terrible.
Right.
Another crazy thing that the manufacturers have done on the E-rated is they have like an E1 and an E2.
E2 is a 65 PSI rating, and an E1 is a 80 PSI.
So you have to pay attention to that. And I
Right.
think that's because maybe for a half-ton truck that you would get the E1s or 2s.
You'll get the E2s.
The
E2, the
E2s.
lighter. Yeah.
Yeah, the 65 PSI tire.
So if you see E2 and the only if there's an E1 and an E2 and that's the two options and you've got a Tacoma,
Stick with the lighter one.
make sure you get the E2,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Don't get
And
the
that's
E1.
that's in my opinion that's just a cop out from a tire standpoint.
Why didn't
Like,
they just make a D? Like
Yeah.
what's the
They used to.
Yeah. They're just trying to consolidate part numbers.
10% of the cars
Yeah.
need E-load rated tires. The rest of them don't need them.
Right. But
I
they
find
figured
it-
the ones that do, they can consolidate.
I find it really interesting on the Raptor, which is a big heavy truck, that has a special BFG C-rated
C-load, yeah.
C-load.
Yeah. Because
That's
they
what
want
it
It's not
comes
a big heavy truck. It's not any bigger or heavier than a standard F-150
Yeah,
with a 3.5.
they want
diesel.
that deflection in
But you know what I
Sidewall, yeah.
mean. It's
Yeah.
a big truck. I mean,
Well, I think they did it more because they need that sidewall.
Yeah. Deflection.
They need that sidewall rigidity for consumers that do take it off road. They need a little bit more rigidity than a P-metric tire.
Right. Right.
You know.
oh yeah, of course, but
But you're thinking why they didn't go E.
Yeah.
exactly. So like anyone replacing the tires on their Raptor,
Why would you want that unsprung weight, turning mass? You just don't need it.
but
Yeah.
I think they targeted. I think that's the best thing Ford's ever done.
well, of course.
Yeah.
Outside of the Ford Taurus SHO and the
Yeah. It makes sense.
1984 Mustang SVO.
Of course, but it's just really interesting that the OE, in a world of E-rated tires, like every 35 pretty much is a E-rated, E1 or E2, and then you've got a Ford Raptor that they specifically made a BFG for the Raptor that is C-rated.
So it sounds
So
like
it's
you're
just
saying
really
if,
weird.
if you have a Raptor and you swap for an E-rated tire, you've just destroyed all the engineering in the vehicle.
This is like the tire manufacturer saying, "Here we go. Here's your E2
Yeah.
that
fun.
that is a load or PSI capacity of 65 PSI, which your car still doesn't need.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Your problem's solved. No, your problem's not solved.
Right. Your TPMS sensors won't go up, but
the
your
big
problem's
thing-
not.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why they do 80 PSI tires, is because, and they're actually do G tires now, because 1-ton trucks require 85 to 90 PSI from the manufacturer, and their tires weren't handling that PSI, so they
Right.
had to go to G rated tires
Right.
to handle manufacturers' TPMS issues, you know?
Right.
I
So
think the
there's-
TPMS is the real big thing with this, because
Yeah, people don't want those lights on their
like
dash.
back in the old days, you just put whatever pressure on
Yeah,
you wanted.
whatever was comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but,
now you got-
there's all kinds of things that can mitigate that. AEV ProCal, you can.
I know, but
right.
it's just
It's just
an-
another thing.
Yeah, an
People don't
additional
really think
expense,
about
an
it.
Additional challenge. Yeah.
and they get the stiff sidewall tire
Yep.
and they pump it up to what's on the door, and you're like,
Yeah.
you're now in a real uncomfortable, jittery situation.
Yeah, we've run into
Or you
it
go to the
a
tire
lot.
shop that's not focused on your door pressure, and they're focused on what the sidewall says. You don't know how many times I've
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
checked the air pressure on a tire and it was maxed out at what the sidewall said,
Yeah.
65 psi on a 65 psi on a Tacoma.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Like that's like me walking on my tippy toes.
yeah. That's
know what I
scary
mean?
when there's that much air in the tire at that point.
It's like you're only getting the middle
The
of that
contact
tread
patch, yeah.
contacting the ground.
yeah, 1 inch of contact patch on the road.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think also like heat.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah. Expansion and contraction of
Like
the air
if you
inside the
go,
tire. Yeah.
like on my Jeep my JL is undrivable, like at anything over 40 PSI. It like skates. It feels like I'm going to death wobble. Right. And I've actually, like on a long trip, like in summertime or whatever, stopped and put the pressure,
yeah.
dropped 5 PSI
Yeah.
because it pumped up over 42 and I could feel it,
Yeah.
you know, and it feels like it's going to death wobble.
And
I guess this episode is more targeted to guys that are lost for a resolution to a concern.
Right.
But here's like I know, back to my story before you move on. I know that what's going on. I know that tires
When
have
the tire
inflated.
heats up,
I've
yeah.
been driving for 3 or 4 hours. It's 100 degrees out.
Yep.
And it's riding
Feels like
like. But I mean, I could see like, oh, I went on this road trip and it's riding like, and then you call up BILSTEIN and go, your shocks are stiff.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Check your air pressure.
Your air pressure like just went up 5-7 psi.
Just
And
on
now
the
the thing's
drive time,
undrivable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, it's just to target the consumer that's struggling with ride quality concerns. I think just having a good understanding and expectation of what modifying a vehicle is going to
Right.
do is very important.
And also looking at the parts that you're being sold when you go to that shop, right?
Yeah. It's not just a matter of getting a leveling kit and wheels
Right.
and tires. It's not.
Yeah.
It's choosing the components that are going to suit your needs. If you don't care about stiffness and you want a truck to ride like a truck, by all means, go get your E-load rated tire, pin your suspension, do whatever you're going to do. But if you're trying to compare how your LC250 rode coming from the dealership lot versus how it's going to ride with either a subprime leveling kit or a good leveling kit and a 10-ply tire,
Right.
it's going to be a 9-day difference,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And understand what to focus on is the big thing. Understand what to focus on. Like, of course, when anyone deals with a ride quality concern, the first thing that crosses their mind is shock absorbers. Oh, the shocks must be stiff because the ride's stiff. That's inaccurate.
Right.
And there's plenty of 285s in P metric that are all-terrain out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. But
You don't
they
need to get the
but
LT.
here's the deal. The LT has the squarer, more boxy look. The P metric has the more rounded.
Right. Rounded shoulders.
The
Rounded
lugs aren't as
shoulder.
deep.
Yeah. The lugs aren't as
The
deep.
lugs, it comes with, 10, 30 seconds of tread rather than 16, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
But
so
functionally,
Yeah.
like
Well-
if you have the LC250 and functionally the P metric
Well, ride quality.
all-terrain
but
will work.
it will work, yes. However, if the goal is to take this LC250 off-road, a P-metric to me is the worst tire to have in dirt aired down.
Right. You
'Cause it
just need to
picks
be
up
aware
everything.
that you're going to have that additional firmness
You
in the tire.
just need to understand if there's a C-load rated tire out there that can suit your needs,
Grab
whether
it.
it be a
Yep.
whether it be a Cooper, whether it be a BFG,
Toyo.
whether it be a Toyo,
Yeah.
whether whatever. See if there's a less load rate option if your vehicle does not need a 10 ply
the
tire.
capacity. Yeah,
Always search for a lesser load rate. C load rate is the top, in my opinion. That any Tacoma, LC250, 4Runner, anything like that should have is the max is a C load rating.
right. In and out.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So do your due diligence. If the tire that you want is if you want a Toyo mud terrain and there's just no other option, then you're going to have to absorb what
the effect is on
how
the
that's
ride.
going to translate over to the ride quality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because now you've done two things. You've altered geometry and you've altered sidewall firmness.
Yep.
So now you've turned your nice riding LC250 from a beautiful driving vehicle from the factory with all the geometry, OE, with a P-metric tire. Now you've turned it into a 1937 Mel truck.
Yeah, lumber wagon.
You know what I mean? A mono-beamed Mel truck.
Yep.
If you put a spacer kit on it, it's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. Now you've just driven it right into the dumpster.
And if you bought it lifted from the dealer, chances are they put a spacer kit on it and they charged you $10,000.
Exactly.
And put an E-load rated tire.
Yeah,
Best
exactly.
of luck.
Yeah. Best of luck.
That happens all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
And this is good. This is good because it gives you guys the opportunity to educate yourself on whether you're buying it lifted, know what you're getting into. If you go to buy an LC250 that has been altered for the dealership by a third party outfit, drive a stock one, then drive that one.
Yeah.
Right? Just so you can kind of get an idea. Understand that there's many products available for these vehicles that focus more on absolute ride quality. See, we've touched on in the past that we do a 4600 series shock for a OE replacement. We do a 5100. A lot of guys say, oh, it's no different, just run the 5100s. It's absolutely incorrect, because if that was correct, we would not tool up to do 4600s.
Right. Well, and if you're enthusiasts like us, and we call it gargoyling, but when you're on a project or on your personal vehicle and you're working on trying to achieve a certain goal with that vehicle, it's kind of fun to do the research. It's kind of fun to seek out expert advice and do the research and chat with people that have vehicles that ride nice and figure out the best option for you. I mean, that's what we do here. I mean, we're not all knowing and all seeing.
But imagine, if you're not a car guy,
right?
You're just after aesthetics.
Well,
right?
that's what we're trying to say.
Any idea?
You don't have any idea, and the ideas you get are from social media.
Right.
So let's hear me out. Social media says, look at this guy with this 05 GX 470. He just put 35-inch Nitto trail grapplers on it and says that it rides phenomenal.
Good luck.
So that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Chances are that guy got free tires and he's being paid to tell you how phenomenal it
right.
rides.
I wasn't latch onto social media for your information, but seek out expert advice, do your research, learn about what you're trying to do. That's the key. I mean, if you don't want to be involved in it, then obviously you're not.
The results are not going to be good.
Exactly, you're not going to have.
Look at how heavy that tire is that you want to buy.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do.
Also, go onto tire manufacturers' websites because you can go to the rating
Yep.
And it'll tell you, like Shane just said, how many pounds that tire is.
Yep.
Usually there's a spec sheet that you can download.
Yep.
We'll give you the overall diameter, because if it's a metric size like a 285/70, the metric size is a 32.7 overall OD. But in that specification sheet, it also tells you how much that tire weighs.
Right, and it'll tell you the load rating and all kinds of good stuff.
And you'll see if they make a P metric versus an LT 10 ply.
The difference in weight.
The difference in weight's 8-10 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 10 pounds of carcass.
Yeah, so the information's there. I mean, if you're interested and you want to make that vehicle ride the best it possibly can and do everything that you want it to do, I mean, I'm shopping for new tires right now, and I'm doing exactly what we're talking about here. I'm in the spec sheets looking for the tire that's going to do what I want to do, the right size, the right sidewall.
Yeah, and by no means are we telling you to get fixated by this tire deal, but just understand what the characteristic that tire is going to have on your vehicle.
The effect that it will have on the ride, regardless of what you did with the suspension.
Correct. Yeah. And understand that there's ways to better. There's always ways to better it. Yeah. Right. Like you. And a lot of people aren't, confrontational, which I'm not either. But
you're not.
So
not confrontational.
like if you go into a shop,
know.
you know, it doesn't hurt to reiterate what you're after.
Yeah. Let them
You
know.
know what I mean? Let them know, hey, I don't want a stiff sidewall.
I don't want an
this, I
E-tire.
don't want that. I don't want an E-tire. The truck, I mean, you know, by the time me, my wife, and 2 kids are in the car, and then we have 2 duffel bags in the back, the thing's fully on the ground. Like we want smooth. We want to alter it for the looks. This is what I'm after. You guys don't have to be pressured into buying something that's not going to suit your
Correct.
needs.
Yeah. Just because that's what they have in the back that they have overstock on.
Yeah, or just because that, just because that, you know, they get bonused on selling X part or
Right.
something. You know what I mean? Whatever the deal may be, you guys got to demand what you're, go in with a goal and come out with a good,
Exactly.
come out with something good.
Try not to be persuaded
that
into
suits
something you're not
Yes,
you're
that
not
suits
wanting.
your needs.
Yeah.
This can be related to everything we're talking about. This
Yeah.
could be related to digressive versus linear valving, which we've talked about many
Yeah.
times. You know, if you want a sportier ride, a digressive shock's going to be that for you,
Yep.
right? On the street. You know, it all just kind of goes back. You know, if you have a second generation Tacoma that's getting long in the tooth and it needs some upgrading, and you want it to ride nice, don't put urethane bushings in it.
True. Yeah, we've kind of covered all the different aspects, and tires is one that we've skirted around a few times and maybe talked about a little bit, but this episode was dedicated to that person.
Yeah, it's
who's
just understanding.
searching for the right tire.
It's understanding what A does for B, B does for
Yeah,
C.
how they
How
all
does
affect-
D affect
Yeah.
what C's doing?
Yeah.
And you got to just understand, the more rigidity you generate in a vehicle suspension, whether it's steering, whether it's rod ends, whether it's tires, the more rigidity you add, it's going to put that right into how that vehicle feels.
Yeah.
So if you want super precise steering, do your steering rack bushings and urethane. I think they're terrible. I think it just overcorrects. I think worst thing ever is a urethane rack bushing, because rack and pinions are definitely intended to have some sort of
Right.
give or
They're
play.
twitchy as it is.
Control arm bushings. Don't put urethane if you don't want it to ride terrible. If you don't want all that vibration and lack of deflection to translate right into your steering column, don't use it. Just because the guy at the sales counter is saying, hey, look, Energy makes a kit. It has body mounts, control arm bushings, rack bushings, tie rod boots. It has all this stuff, and it's Energy suspension. Great. Those are race parts, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't put all that polyurethane on a daily driver and expect to get to work without stomach cramps or a
Exactly.
kidney belt.
Beat to death.
Yeah, it's just is what it is. Purpose built.
Yeah.
There's a purpose for
Go in
every
with a
part.
purpose. Yep.
And there's a reason why the OE uses rubber grommets.
Yep. And why they put a P-metric tire on it and all that. I mean, that's
There's
the
a
whole
reason the rubber grommets are even more important than the tire, because all the deflection those offer and the comfort of having rubber grommets and how long they last and the durability factor of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just exceeds what urethane's going to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Double bonded, sleeved.
Rubber, good old fashioned rubber.
So if you have any questions for us, let us know.
Yeah, well, I hope hopefully we cleared up some of the questions about the different sidewall ratings and tire pressure and all the questions that come into play when you're getting ready to build that vehicle up. You're selecting your suspension, you're selecting your tires, and hopefully you'll be able to navigate through it with a few less problems. And if you have any further questions or anything else you need more information on, put it in the comment section, and we'll look it up for you and get back to you.
Are you or anything? I mean, for lack of better words, it gives you guys something to target, right? So if you guys did just get a vehicle built and you are suffering with the firmness, go out there and
Check a few things.
check if it's E-load retired, drop the pressure down, you know what I mean, and make sure that they even put the correct pressure in it. You know, make sure that it gives you just a little more ammo to go out there and to get the vehicle operating and functioning to the best of your
Do a little
need.
tire tuning. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Shock Talk.